Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this planet Earth. And we're here once again at Open Water Wednesday with two very special guests, and I'll kick it over to Ned.
My name is Ned Denison. I'm going to be hosting this session along with Steve today. I'm an epic marathon swimmer with 55 and counting on my way to 100, hopefully. I'm also the chairperson of the International Marathon Swimming Hall of Fame and a swim organizer. I'll ask Alice to introduce herself, but your introduction should be at least 4 times longer than mine, Alice.
I'll try. Hey, my name's Alice Deering. I'm a British swimmer living in the UK at the moment, and I am currently 22 years old. It's my 23rd birthday in 8 days, and I swim for Britain, marathon swimmer. I was world and European junior champion a few years back, and I'm currently on the road to Tokyo, I guess, and that's the current aim, to qualify hopefully now in 2021. And I hope I can help with any issues that anybody's having with the lockdown and everything, because it's obviously not an easy time for open water swimmers or swimmers in general.
Okay. So Alice, give us a little bit of your early and mid and later teens background. I'm assuming you were a competitive pool swimmer. What were your strokes? What kind of workouts were you doing in those years?
Yeah, so I originally started as an IM swimmer when I was about 9 years old, which I suppose most children are meant to do all 4 strokes. Then I progressed to 200 fly when I was 13, and then from 14 it was 400 free, 800 free, and then I did my first marathon when I was 15. I was either 15 or 16. I might have just turned 16. Did my first marathon in Portugal. The water was 14 degrees, and I know that's quite warm for most people, but for me that was it was cold. And off the back of that race, I qualified to swim for Britain at the European Junior Championships. This was in 2013, and then it was my second ever open water race, and I won it. And then it was kind of just a natural snowball into open water swimming, as I found that I was quite good at it, I suppose, and just kept rolling with it, and just eventually ended up being on the senior teams, and now in the position to hopefully qualify for Tokyo.
And in those years, your mid to late teens, was it 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the afternoon? What did your workouts, your number of meters, is something people will understand?
Okay, I think I peaked at maybe 60 to 70k a week, which some people are doing way more than that now, but I remember at the time I was at my limit with that. I felt it was tough, because it wasn't just slow steady swimming either. The majority of the sessions were on it. I think I only had 1 or 2 recovery sessions, so the majority of those meters were at a decent intensity, at least 50 below, the majority of them, some of them 30 below, and then some of them at max. So but yeah, that was a tough time, and obviously that's built the background for me now to be able to have the fitness to keep doing marathon swims year in, year out. And especially right now, with not being able to get in the water, it's I'm going to be very thankful for all those meters that I've built up in the bank when I get back in, because naturally I should in theory take better to it, and my fitness shouldn't drop too much, I hope.
And in those years, were you in a club? Was it a university team?
Yeah, so I was at a club for up to university, so up to 18. I was at Royal Wolverhampton School, and I swam there for 8 years, and then I moved to Loughborough University, and I initially started at the Loughborough National Centre, and I swam there for 2 years under Kev Renshaw and David Hemmings. And then I didn't have a great World Championships in 2017, and I got kicked out of the centre, and I moved into the Loughborough University squad. And to be honest, I think the change did me a lot of good. I swam really well for the first year in the centre, but that's when I won World Juniors off of that year. then after that, just things didn't work out for me, I don't think. And the people at British Swimming recognised that it wasn't the place for me and decided that I shouldn't be there anymore, which at the time hurt me a lot. Like I really didn't want that to happen, but in hindsight, it was the right decision, and I've done really well being coached by Andy Manley at the moment, and I'm enjoying the sport a lot more.
For the international listeners, Loughborough would be known as the university in the UK with probably the best overall athletics kinds of sports programs. I think in Canada you'd compare it to Simon Fraser, and I'm not sure who we compare it to in the United States because there are so many universities with superb athletic programs. Okay. And the center you talk about was presumably a high performance center of excellence.
Yeah, literally that. Yeah. I could call it a high pack, like you did, a high performance center. It used to be called the ITC, which was the Intensive Training Centre, I think, and now it's called the Loughborough National Centre. And it's basically British Swimming set up this programme of very, very elite athletes within British Swimming and give them the place to train, to better themselves, give them all the right facilities for this to happen. And I genuinely really enjoyed it there, the time I was there. But it is said that it's not the place for some people, and some people choose not to go to the centres because they might work better within their club environment or the environment that they're at the moment. And it's literally just personal choice. It's just how things work out for people.
And in that centre, for a distance set, whatever a distance set looked like for you, were you in the top lane? Were you in the third lane? Was everybody on your heels, or were you hanging on to the top 5 people just trying to be in that group?
Well, basically the way the centre works is there was a maximum of like 20 people there, probably not even that many. I'd say it's 16 at most, and they go from all strokes. So you've got Adam Peaty in the centre, and you also have Jack Bennell in the centre at Loughborough anyway. And so the sets were very specific to each person or each group. And at the time, I was the only distance girl in the Loughborough National Centre. And I think I have been, well, like when I was, there wasn't anybody else there at the time who did, any girls who did distance, and there haven't been since I left. But so that meant I was training with all of the boys, and obviously got no chance of keeping up with them. I was training with Tim Shuttleworth, Caleb Hughes, Toby Robinson, Jack Bennell. The year before I left, Daniel Fogg, sometimes Roberto Pavoni, like some very, very fast men, and obviously got no chance of keeping up with them. So they would alter the sets for me slightly, so it wasn't too embarrassing for me. But there were some times I'd like outdo myself and surprise myself at how fast I could actually swim when challenged in such an extreme way.
So Steve, you'd be a better judge of this, but certainly I don't think many people would say that Jack's out of the top 20 globally for men. Some people would put him in the top 10. Some people might put him in the top 5. Is that a fair description?
Yes. I mean, the people, the men that you were talking about are all very world class at the top of their field. And they've, through their careers, they've won some World Cups and stuff. I would be interested, Allison, what was the toughest set that you did? Give us as many details, your pace, distance, etc., that you surprised yourself. I know that they were modifying something, but training with the men, they really pushed you. What were some of those sets that you were like, whoa, I did it?
The one that's always stuck in my mind was actually the set I did when I was trialing to get into the centre. And it was 6100s long course. I think it was off 110.
Oh, wow.
So 70 seconds. And they took the lane ropes out of 3 lanes. And they were like to me, right, just stick on the back of the boys. We're all going to swim in a train like it's open water. Swim in a train, stick on the back of the boys, see how long you can keep up. If you don't make one, you can miss one out and then join back in again. And I was like, okay, I'll see how long I can go for. And I actually did all of them. Like I kept up with I was drafting. I had amazing draft, but I didn't get left behind. Like I made all of the times, and I was really proud of that actually. Obviously the last one was like a sprint. So they all went off but like, and I tried to keep up, but I think they must have left me after about 10 or 20 meters. But that's the one that's always stuck in my mind.
Wow.
And
yeah.
do you realize that if you just picked it up a little bit and did the 60 at sub 1 minute, you probably would be the Olympic champion?
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, if I had that draft,
Is it as simple as that, Steve? I don't really understand this elite stuff.
Well, what I would like her to answer is just, okay, so the coach says 6100s on a 110 base, stick with the boys. You push off the wall on the first 100, and you know you have 59 left. What are you thinking at that point?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I was just, I think I was just quite excited to be there because, like, these are some of the men, like, and some of the people who were on poolside at the time, like Liam Tancock used to swim in the centre as well, and Fran Housel, and they were all like swimming in the pool at the same time. And like, as like an 18-year-old girl who like is just aspiring to become on the level of these people, I think I was just so excited by the fact that I had that opportunity and that I was swimming with some incredible athletes and that I was like wanting to be on the same level as them. I think that's what was mainly going through my mind. I was just like, okay, just do what you can, see where this goes. If you make it, you make it. If not, but like, you're good enough to do this. And especially like, I like drafting anyway, so just sitting on the back of people just feels like I'm gliding along. So it was actually really fun, actually.
Yeah. And you're also there with Adam Peaty too, which, you know, I mean, his level, he's not world class. He is the class. How do these people and all the great distance swimmers that you work with, how do they conduct themselves before practice, in the locker room, you know, just gathering, stretching? What do they have a different mindset than your average club swimmer?
In certain ways, yes. That obviously, if they have to have a different mindset because they couldn't be to the level that they are without that. But then at the same time, like, they were very relaxed people. Like, we always had a laugh in the pre-pool room when we were stretching and warming up. Like, it was always very relaxed. It wasn't tense or anything like that. If we had a key set, the boys would be bantering with each other about who was going to be better, and just kind of like getting excited about it. But it was a very like positive attitude towards like every session pretty much, and just like, and like quite relaxed and like chatty, and just everybody getting along, like banterous. That was what it was like when I was there anyway. I'm not sure what it's like now, but yeah, yeah, it was chill.
If you've read any of the early Lance Armstrong's books, there's a great passage where they're out in New Mexico for the first training session of the year or something, and there's a new person on the team who makes some sort of disparaging comment of the fact that it's raining outside. And the story is that Lance literally goes over the breakfast table after the guy, you know, talking about, you know, we don't need any negative thoughts today. And then instead of it being a 2-hour cycle, kept them all out for 5 hours or something, just to beat it through them that, you know, this was different.
Got it.
Wow.
You used the word beating, which it sounds tough, but I know how difficult it is to swim in a pack with the men. But I've seen a lot of men's races and I've seen a lot of women's races, and the women just are tougher. When you're swimming in that pack, when you're going around the buoy, Alice, can you explain what's actually going on under the water with elbows and legs and knees and feet?
I'm just getting like flashbacks from my most recent race in Doha, a World Cup, where going around the top right-hand buoy, and you just look up and you're literally on top of somebody, and you breathe to the right, and somebody's arm is pulling you down, putting your head down, and you've got somebody literally on your hips, like your legs are completely submerged underneath somebody else's body. And I think that's the best way to try it. Just imagine a tangle of bodies, arms and legs, and just trying to swim through that. And it's so difficult because, you know, the majority of it isn't intentional. It's, you have to try to keep swimming, you have to keep your momentum going, because if you stop dead at a buoy, that's 20 or 30 people gone round you within the blink of an eye. And the momentum that you lose, having to pick that up again, is just so frustrating. And when you look up and you see the swimmer who you were in front of by 2 meters, now 5 meters in front of you, just because you've gone around a buoy wrong. And so you think you've got to make up 7 meters, which that could take potentially a kilometer to do if the pace is moving quite quickly. So yeah, turning buoys are tough. I always like to try to take the inside line. Obviously that's what everybody wants, that's the ideal position. But yeah, for example, at World Championships in oh god, it was in South Korea, Gwangju. It was Gwangju, but it wasn't Gwangju where we stayed. But the buoys were so big. The best way to describe them is like the do you know that Wi-Fi signal, the way it goes like little circles going up and up and out? That's the best way I could describe it. Like going around the buoy, you obviously want to be the small circle. You don't want to be in the big arc. And I was very lucky for some reason. I only had one bad turn where I got like pulled back a little bit, but I always managed to dip under and round quite quick. But it's finding the right position and sticking to your guns when you get to it.
And how tough do you think you are in those situations? Are you the toughest female competitor out there? Are you mid-tough, or are you one that just doesn't want the contact and shy away from it? But where are you in that?
Yeah. Okay. I did used to be the one who didn't want contact at all. Like someone would touch me slightly and I'd be like, I'll go over here. And I think that comes from, like, I look around me and I'm one of the most petite of the women on the linings field. So I always look around them kind of like, okay, I need to watch myself here, because one wrong hit from this person might not be good for me. But Kerry-Anne Payne spoke to me, it was just before Doha actually. We sat down and had a chat, and she was like, I used to be quite similar to you, like I didn't want any of the hassle of that, but you suddenly realise it's not actually that bad when you take 1 or 2 hits and just deal with it, move on from it. It's actually not that bad. And I've toughened up quite a lot in the past. Like, I've only done 1 race since then, I suppose, but like it's been like a progression year from year of just getting more used to this brutal sport, I suppose, because I did originally come from a pool background, and like I do like my own space, but I was just getting used to it, I suppose. And I'd like to say I think I'm one of the toughest, because I think I have to think that, but I don't know if it comes down to it, I'm probably not.
If you move the calendar aside and there's a fist hole in the wall, we know you're tough.
When Alice, when someone hits you or an elbow, again, intentional or not intentional, what is your immediate thought? Is it, I gotta hit this woman back, or is it that's just unintentional, you swim on? What's actually going through your mind?
My first instinct is always it's unintentional. Always give someone the benefit of the doubt on the first hit. The second one, I'm like, okay, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt again. But the third or plus, I'm kind of like, I either need to move, because if someone's constantly hitting you, you need to move. And sometimes, in some instances, I have been like, look, just go away, because it's been constant, it's been bad. But if it's that bad, I try to find somewhere else to move to, just because I've never thought, after getting into like a scrap with someone or something like that, nobody benefits from it. It's just not worth it. And like, you lose your energy, you lose your momentum, you've lost space from somebody, and it's never worth it. So I always try to find somewhere to move to. It did happen in Doha, the race just gone, where the lead pack was going, it was down the second last straight, and the lead pack was going, and a girl was pulling me back, and I was just like, I could help bridge this gap. I don't care if you draft off me. If you let me go, because I'm swimming faster than you, I can bridge this gap. But she pulled me back twice, and I can't actually remember what I did. I think I just left. I definitely did just leave it, but I don't know how I left it, if that makes sense. I didn't try to hit her back or anything. There was no point. I knew I didn't have the energy for it. So I think it's always just like playing your cards right, really. And I ended up beating her. Like I managed to get back up to the lead pack, But I remember being really annoyed by that. But it's keeping your cool in situations like that, because if I'd flown up and decided that I needed to retaliate in some way, I probably wouldn't have had the result I did, because I wouldn't have had the energy after that to be able to catch up 20 meters that we'd lost.
When you talk about moving, there's two directions to move. One is away from the contact, and the other is towards the contact. I'm not an elite swimmer, but I always tend to move towards the contact. I'm a little bigger than most. I've got a lot, typically bigger body mass, and they didn't play water polo. So I always fancy my chances closing that distance and going, okay, you want to climb on my back? I go, yeah, bring it on. We'll see where this goes.
Ned, but did you notice when she was explaining about that third contact, she just sort of did a nice little elbow nudge. I thought that was pretty smooth.
Yeah. So, Alice, I wanted to make the transition from the center to now your university team, your university club. Now, when they're doing a distance set, are you in lane 1, lane 2, lane 3? Are you the top dog? You no longer presumably have Jack and a couple of these other people in it. Where are you in that, and how is your mind changed? Are you now leading the set?
Yeah, I guess I am in a way. There's still other boys with us, so and like good standard boys who swim like sub 16 long course 1500, so decent times, and so they're obviously like faster than me. But in terms of the girls, I am the like best distance swimmer in Loughborough Uni at the moment, yeah, I feel like I do try to take on like a leader role in that way, maybe, but I'm not sure if I do. I can be quite quiet at training, like just kind of turn up, get on with it kind of person. But on
a bad day, is there a girl that takes you in the distance set?
Yeah, it can be. Yeah, Emily Clark, she's good. She's also getting into open water at the moment, and yeah, like she's
does she ever take you 2 days in a row? Or do you walk away the first day and you go, okay, I probably should have gone to bed early last night, and I probably shouldn't have had the 2 ice cream cones. So she got me today, but tomorrow is a different story.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, like I do like to try to keep my best distance swimmer like mantle, I guess, in that way. And yeah, I suppose that's a good way of putting it. And I really like that I do get to train with Emily and some of the other girls, because really drives me on, especially like after 2 years in the centre being the only girl. It was quite difficult for me to come back to having like other distance girls around, and obviously swimmers, very competitive people, so but we get on really well as well. Like, we're really chill about it. We know it's never bitchy or anything like that. Like, me and Emily get on really well, and we just I think we've both driven each other on really well these past 2 years, and just like made training a bit more fun for each other.
So you talked about the junior competition and doing incredibly well. How have you fared in senior competition?
The step up from junior to senior is like, oh, it's like an ocean. Literally, it's like an ocean. It feels like, yeah, because I kind of obviously fell into open water swimming and the junior level, and I kind of literally just naturally took to it. And I was given senior opportunities pretty much instantly after my European Junior Championship place, and it was astounding. Like in junior swimming, you could make a mistake, you could make 5 mistakes, and you could get away with it because you'd be fast enough, or the field was more inexperienced, so you knew what was going to happen. You could predict what was going to happen in that way. But with senior swimming, you make 1 mistake and that could be race over for you. And it happened to me so many times. I'd reflect on the race, and it was the mistake I made on the second lap by feeding when I was dropping off the pack or something stupid like that. But it was the inexperienced side of me that kept doing these things. And eventually here we are. Oh my God, how many years have we doing this now? 7 years later. And I feel like I'm just about getting to grips with knowing what I need to do and when I need to do it each race. and just reflecting on the like how some of the things I managed to get away with as a junior swimmer in some of the races, just inexperienced choices, but like if you're fast enough, I suppose you can just get away with it.
And what have been your best senior results, and what big name scalps have you taken along the way?
Okay. The best one was probably the most recent one in Doha. That was a FINA World Cup, and I came 10th, and I think I was 6 or 7 seconds behind first. So I was right on the feet of, I think Kuna won, I think.
I think Anna won that, yeah.
Yeah, I think Anna won, yeah. And I was right, but obviously right on the feet of everybody then. And yeah, that was my best race so far, and I was really excited by it because obviously leading into the qualification race for the Olympics, it was looking quite positive for me, but obviously that's been set back. But it's all right because especially I'm on the younger end of the women's side of open water, so to be honest, the year might actually do me some good. It'll probably help me out in quite a few ways and potentially give me advantage over some of the other swimmers. But yeah, I can't remember who I've beat and when, to be honest. It all blurs into one at the end of the day. But they're steadily improving results. But yeah, I think that just displays the gap between junior and senior swimming. But then you look on the men's side and you've got Rosowski, the Hungarian. He won World Juniors the year I won it in 2016. And I always think it's amazing to look upon the reflection of that. Like, he's top 5 in the world, and then I'm just trying to scrape into the top 10, and I think it just shows like they're very different sports sometimes, the men's side and the women's side of marathon racing.
Yeah,
you've become socially active as well in the last while. Tell us a little bit about the BSA, how it came to be, and what you're hoping to drive it towards.
Yeah, so I've helped set up an organisation called the Black Swimming Association, or BSA for short. You can check us out on our website, bsa.org.co.uk or something like that. Type in Black Swimming Association, you'll find us. And basically we're trying to just get more diversity in swimming, get more Black and ethnic minorities into the water, and not just on the competitive side, but on the just general swimming side, teaching people to swim and showing them the importance of learning to swim, because a lot of Black people don't swim, and lots of Black people don't know how to swim, and it's an issue. Like, it is a life skill that you should know how to do. I had it put in quite a clever way to me before. For example, if you tell somebody, if I was to say I can't ride a bike, I feel like people would be like, that's a weird thing to not know how to do, especially at age 22. But when somebody says they don't know how to swim, I feel like it's kind of just, like loads of people don't know how to swim, it's okay. And honestly, it's not okay. Like, swimming can save your life, it can save somebody else's life. It's a really good way to keep fit. It can change your life as it's changed my life, given me so many positive things to look towards and achieve. And I don't want people to miss out on that just because they think, because they're of a certain colour, that the sport isn't for them. And that's not true at all. So, and obviously everything's gone into limbo at the moment with the COVID-19 crisis, but we're like working behind the scenes on getting things to just build up, displaying how like when everybody wants to get back into the water in a few months' time, giving advice on how to do it safely, because we're concerned that obviously there won't be many drownings right now. People aren't getting into the water, but this could skyrocket. Knowing how to do it safely and just jumping in like open water settings as well, which is normally where drownings happen. And so we're trying to give advice on that whilst this is all happening.
It's interesting. When I went to university many years ago, it was a requirement to be able to swim one length on your stomach, one length on your back, and to run a mile in 12 minutes or less. Now, obviously, if you had that, it was a different program. And I know in some United States, huge emphasis on swimming as a necessary life skill.
Mhm.
Steve, you probably know more about this than maybe both of us. Can you give us some examples of a U.S. location or program that's really done a fabulous job with swimming education?
Actually, yeah, Ned, you probably know Lynn Cox.
I
The
do.
woman who swam in the Bering Strait, very famous. She held the record for the Catalina Channel and the the English Channel. 2 years in a row, she set the record. Anyway, she lives in a city called Seal Beach. It's in Southern California, maybe a half an hour from Disneyland. They actually require all their children to swim in a pool. That's the only place. So before they graduate from elementary school, all the children have to demonstrate the ability to swim. What does that mean in reality? There's been no local deaths in the ocean. There's been no drownings. It's sort of I think it's the very unsung way to teach community how to be water safe. The only other place that I know where that is actually implemented is the entire country of Japan, where the Japanese had a very famous tragedy, I think in the 1950s, earlier mid 1950s, where a ferry boat was carrying lots of children, hundreds of children. It crashed. The boat sank, and I think over 300, somewhere between 350 and 400 children died. The thing about boat crashes, boat wrecks, is they're usually within 500 meters of a coastline. It's very rare for something like the Titanic to occur. So what did the Japanese government did? They said, we'll never have this again. And they built pools in, I think, 96 or 97% of all elementary schools in Japan. And all children have to learn to swim. And the drowning rate in Japan, I believe, is the lowest in the world. So as Ellis is saying, as we come out of this lockdown, if Alice continues to be that role model and to be able to work with other people in her network and our network and a growing network to teach people that, hey, if you know how to ride a bike, you should know how to swim. And that shouldn't be two separate things. So Alice, I applaud you. And there's cities in California and the country of Japan where they've actually nailed down, teach children when they're young, prevent tragedies when you're older. So
Yes.
carry on.
No, thank you.
How did you get your swimming opportunity, Alice?
Yeah, initially started, I was learning to swim at like my local swimming pool in Birmingham, UK, where I'm originally from. And my mum saw the notice board for the local swimming club at the pool that we swam at, and she just she called them up or emailed, I can't remember which, and just put me in for sessions with them, like me and my brother, because we were just getting bored at home. And it just literally took off from there. That was I just kept swimming year after year, just progressing through county level, regional level, then to nationals, then to British champs, first British team, first senior team, and then here I am now. But it was just it wasn't ever a conscious effort to try to become an elite athlete. It was just I took to something, I enjoyed it, and just kept rolling with it, basically.
And would other Black children of that time, would they have not had the local opportunity? Would they have chosen a different sport? Was there an economic barrier? What's the main hindrance?
There's quite a few issues that Black people face when getting in the water. It's not really, I wouldn't say so much opportunity. I have heard of some swim teachers who have said that Black people can't float, or Black people shouldn't swim. And these are quite recent years as well. It's not just 20, 30 years ago. So I suppose there's issues behind that, but that's very isolated and rare cases. I wouldn't say that is not an issue that we face. The majority, the high percentage of swim teachers won't be that way inclined. But it's mainly like a cultural issue which Black people face. It's just kind of known that Black people don't swim, and that's literally it. And that's all they'll say. They'll say, "Oh, Black people don't swim," and then you kind of ask why, and they're like, "Oh, we just don't swim." And there's not it's weird. There's no like reason for them not to swim. There's the myth that Black people are too dense to float in water, so they literally can't swim, but that's not true. That is not true. And so I don't know if people like internalize that and then use that as an excuse not to get into the water. And yeah, you'll ask people and they'll be like, "Oh, I'm Black, I don't swim." And also there's a hair issue. Black women getting in the water, swimming caps traditionally haven't been made for thick Afro-Caribbean hair, but there are many companies who are changing this and challenging what a swim cap should be and who it can be for. And there's so many different types of them. There's soul cap, there's swim scarf, there's my waterproof scarf. They're all three very different products as well, which is really nice to see people being creative with this issue. And potentially economics, yeah, there could be, especially like inner city ethnic minorities or Black people, especially in London. If you have 3 children and you can just about afford to feed them, you can't really afford for swimming lessons. You can't really afford for a swimming costume, cap, goggles for 3 children. And there are economic barriers which some people will face when getting in the water. So there's a lot of issues that we have to unpack and kind of section off on who we can help, because we're not just looking to help just Black people in this whole issue. We're looking to help with, the main aim is to get everybody in Britain swimming and everybody learning to swim. And even if it's very rudimentary swimming that could save their life, keep them afloat for a while someone comes and helps them, that's better than somebody not being able to swim and potentially drowning. So yeah.
There's also probably a generational thing going on. Steve, you've got several children, if my memory serves me right. Was there any doubt they were going to learn how to swim?
No. Fortunately, we live by the beach, actually quite close to Lynn Cox. So getting them in and familiar with the water, even looking out at the shoreline and knowing big waves are coming, back away. But Alice, I had to laugh when you were talking about hair. I couldn't help but noticing your hair is really long.
Oh yeah, no,
I mean,
it's I've got braids, so it's like extensions.
Maybe it's extension.
Okay.
Maybe it's extensions. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
just
it's
clip on the back or something, Steve. I don't know.
I was thinking, wow, that's a lot of hair in a cap.
No, yeah, it's because obviously I've been out of the water for like 4 weeks nearly, and I've always wanted braids. So I was like, when it happened, I was like, right, well, I don't know when I'm getting back in the water. I'm going to use this time to get my braids, and then they're going to come out when we get back in the water, because you're not really meant to get them wet, and the swimming caps that I need to wear when I train wouldn't protect this properly.
Yeah. So. Yeah. It's all right. So, and then also where can people reach you? Like, if they listen to this, how can they reach out? Do they go to a website, an email, Instagram? Tell people how they can get involved or support you in some way.
Yeah, definitely. If there's anything that I've said that struck you, or you want to tell us your story, we always really want to hear it. If you go to the Black Swimming Association website, there's a how to get involved section where you can leave your email and a message, and it will come through to us. We're on Twitter, we're on Twitter and Instagram, we're both there, Black Swimming Association, look for that. And then also, if you want to get in touch with me, the best way to do that is probably Instagram or Twitter, and I'll try to get back to you. Like, I really do try to reply to everybody. It might be slow, but I'll get there. And yeah, I'm Alice Deering X on both Instagram and Twitter.
Got it. Thank you very much. Ned, do you have any more questions?
I want to thank you very much, Alice, for your time and for being an inspiration to young competitive swimmers.
Thank you. No, thanks for having me. It's been really interesting. Thanks.
All right. Take care. Thank you again. Good luck.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.